Yes, hello everyone. We've been waiting for Norway to get online, but it looks like they have some problems with that. So I guess we just have to start.
Yeah.
My name is Dag Hasvold, working in Nordic Engineering. I'm here together with Frode Olsen,
Hello.
also from the Nordic Engineering, and we are going to show you guys how GDPR is implemented in Questback Essentials. So without further delay, let's just start. So here you can see the welcome screen after you have logged into Essentials. And as you can see now on the right-hand side, we have some information that GDPR is now live at Questback, and you can see down there, there's also a link to a page where you can read more about the details of GDPR as well. So we released this on Monday evening.
Yes.
So, and there will also be one release a little bit later, but before the 25th of May that we will come back to. So, so yeah, let's now jump into it. So now I'm going to open up a Quest. And under settings, you will see that there is a new section, or accordion, as we say, on with GDPR settings. And this is where you actually make Quest GDPR compliant. I could also just mention that right now you have to turn on GDPR for every new Quest that you create, but after the 25th, this will be the default setting. So when you make something, make a Quest GDPR compliant, you have this section with a lot of information about what GDPR is and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into that, and I guess Sarah and other people has explained a lot about that, but of course you need to have it here as well. And then you have this the GDPR statements with a lot of fields that you can fill in, and some of them are indeed mandatory as well. So first of all of this will be the GDPR statement, which is presented before you actually start the survey. So we will show you that afterwards, right? So, but you are allowed to put in a welcome message. That's optional. Some people have asked, what is that compared to the intro text, for example? But this is something that is presented before the actual consent of the GDPR statement. So it has nothing to do with introduction text. And then you have the GDPR purpose. And here we have, for convenience grade, I think it's about 11 predefined purpose statements, where you, for example, here, if you take meeting evaluation and click this, you will get another text here. Or you could take leadership evaluation and you see the text will change there. So right now we only have this in English, but they will follow now very soon in the different languages we have in the service, which is 12 different languages. So right now this is a single lingual survey, but if we had additional languages, it will be here to the right-hand side.
Yeah, so exactly the same interface as in the translations page, where you will always see the master language on the left-hand side, and then you can cycle through the additional languages on the right-hand side to provide translations, for instance.
Exactly. So yeah, and I almost forgot, maybe one of the most important things is the retention period. And we'll also talk a little bit more about that later, but the retention period is from the respondent has given his or her consent, how long should personal data reside in the Questback database or the Essential database. So for example, in this case, we have said that, you know, personal data should stay 10 weeks after the consent has given. So if now Frode answered a quest or a survey now at 12 o'clock today, at 12 o'clock in 10 weeks time, the personal data for Frode will be deleted. You also have the possibility here to say unlimited, but if you do that, then you need to give a specific criteria on why you're doing this.
Yeah, that is if you have a different reason for keeping it, which is not time limited in a strict absolute sense, but more of this as long as you're hired by us, for instance, you can use that functionality.
Yeah. So moving down, we also have the name of the controller, and the controller is, well, from our point of view, the customers, you that are attending this breakfast seminar. So, and also the contact details for that. And I think that's more or less what we have of stuff that is mandatory, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but still, there's a lot of fields that can be filled in here. So But we also, what we also have is a way for you to create templates or GDPR statements that you can load into the GDPR settings here. So right now you can see that for the language English, I have created a couple of templates for product survey and employee engagement. And if I do this, choose that, I have loaded now this entire GDPR statement with the new one.
Yes.
So and we're going to go back to the GDPR statement later, so then you know that. And then you can, of course, a very important thing here is what is personal data. And you do that by clicking this button here. And then you get up this box here. We can say that, that in this small survey here, we have only 2 questions. It's are you happy and why are you happy, which are questions. And then you have what we call respondent data. And for those of you who know what that is, it's when you import from Excel or CSV file, or you integration, stuff like that, you can attach data to in addition to your email or your phone number. So right here we have happy, which could probably not be personal data, and then why, and we would say that, oh, that could be personal data, and the name is personal data, whereas your role is not. So you can just simply click and unclick this button, this checkboxes here, and click save, and now you have defined what is personal data for the survey.
Yeah. And to help you out, we have some default settings which has built in a certain level of smartness. So by default, when you upload respondent data, we assume that it is personal data. So they will be pre-marked by default. The same goes for open-ended questions. So all open-answer questions will be pre-marked as default, or pre-marked by default as personal data. So you can go through and de-check those if it's not personal data.
Yeah, so let's have a look at that. If you go over to Designer, now I did some changes to the settings page. So I had to save it. Now I'm going over to Designer, and now you can see that this this symbol here. This actually shows that this is personal data. And when you have the mouse over, it also the mouse over shows you that this is personal data. So in here you also have another couple of other things you can do. And as Frode just talked about now, when you now introduce a new question, depending on the question type here, we make a the defaults are that all question types which have open answers, we consider personal data.
Yeah.
And if you import stuff, also respondent data is considered personal data. But I mean, all of this is for you to, so for example, now if I go here and I say open answer short, now you would see that for the question settings down here, we have, this will be automatically ticked off. And when you, let's say, I just say GDPR demo here, some stupid. And when I click save now, you will see that now, sorry, I don't want to do that. But okay, so now this will also be a question that was containing personal data as well. So, and there are different ways of showing this. One thing is to tick it off there on the specific question, and we show out here. But you could also, I'm just going to delete that. Also go here and set properties on multiple questions, which is more or less the same dialogue as we had from the GDPR settings, but here we also have some other settings that you can control from there as well. So you probably remember this from the earlier phase. So I'm just going to say cancel on that. So let's go over and see how this actually looks on the GDPR Statement Manager, should we? So now under the menu, here you have the GDPR Statement Manager.
This is where, if you save templates, they will show up here. And this is where you sort of manage and handle those templates.
Yes. So, I mean, this is the typical area where you, our customers, would, now use the time before the 25th of May to create the GDPR statements you need to have in order to be GDPR compliant and do that in the different languages that you need. So let's say that you typically have let's say four different languages on your surveys, and you have the need for 5 different GDPR statements. That would give you a total of 20 GDPR statements that you should prepare and have here as GDPR statements that can be loaded into quests. So right now you can see here that so all GDPR statements are available to everyone who is logged into your account. I mean, your account being your customer account.
Yes, if they're shared, of course.
If they're shared, and that's what you can do here. So for example, the one I created here in English, the one which is shared, I could simply just click there, and now this is private. Now Frode couldn't see this, but if I click there, now it is available to Frode, both to use in Quest, but also to edit if you wanted to. So right now you can see that Torbjørn, one of our engineers, and Frode has created one ansattundersøkelse in Norwegian there, and they are shared. I have created an employee engagement. One of them is shared and one of them is private. And I also have one called product survey. And this is more or less exactly the same as we looked upon under the GDPR settings. The only thing is that here we don't have the retention period because that is
more on a Quest specific or Quest level.
Yes.
Whereas these are sort of to be reused and in a convenient way to set up the same kind of service as you usually set up multiple times.
Yes. So the GDPR statement manager is created here. So and again, you have more or less the same controls that you or the same input fields that you had, and also here you have this predefined purpose statements, and we also have something here on legal basis for processing, and you can simply just choose stuff like here and click save, and then anyone could go into the different quests and apply that. But whatever you change here, that isn't automatically updated in the quest. In the quest you go and load the content of a template into the quest.
In that sense, the templates, they are used sort of as a point of departure for the individual quest specific GDPR settings. So in that way, it's not by reference to the template, but more of that the template contents are just copied over and are for you to tweak or use as is.
Yeah. So let's go back to the settings page again. So so here we have GDPR settings. So what we showed you so far is, right now you could and should prepare to, start doing all your preparations for GDPR and create statements and load that into quests and things like that. What we would like to show you now is actually how you can delete personal data in the system. And of course, a lot of you have ongoing quests, meaning that they have been running for a while. And then you will come into the situation that, when you turn GDPR on for a quest, from that moment on, you will actually, the respondents will, have this page where they have to give their consent. And of course, that is something that we should show you. I'm going to use the preview function in Essentials to show you that. So here we have the name, the title of the quest, and here is the welcome message. There you have information about the data processing, the purpose statements, and then the name and address of the controller, and then you have the additional data here, like how long personal data will be processed and stuff like that, and other fields that you have provided.
Yes, and there's one field which will be visible next to the how to contact us if you have provided data to it, and that is the EU representative, if applicable, field.
Yeah. So here, if after you've read this, you think that, oh, I don't want to participate in this, you would simply click here and say okay, and then you really can't answer the survey anymore. So this is also, well, it's a status of uncompleted, right, under distribution.
Yes.
But of course you can also say I agree to processing, And then when you click next, you actually start the survey. And this is from the moment where you actually gave your consent and where the processing time starts. And after 10 weeks, you would indeed delete the personal data. Yeah. And that is something that we will do automatically for you behind the scenes in the system. That is not yet in place, that process to delete the personal data, but it will be within a week or something.
Yes.
So, but let's also talk about, you know, what you indeed would do if you needed to delete other data that was retrieved, or responses that came into the system before you activated GDPR on the Quest. And here we have a button which is right now gray, but that will be activated later. So if this is a Quest where you enable GDPR on an ongoing Quest, because you're allowed to do that on an ongoing Quest, and even a closed Quest, you can do that.
Yes, sort of to clean up your existing data.
Yes, then you would be able to click the button, delete pre-GDPR. You would get up a dialog box saying, do you really want to do this? And what that would do is to go and delete all personal data according to the rule sets you defined here for all the responses that was retrieved or given before you activated GDPR on the Quest.
Yeah, so it's for all the ones that are pre-consent. So basically all data with that do not have the retention period attached to them.
Exactly. So so that's a very important function. I guess this is one of the most frequently asked questions we've got, actually. So how do we do stuff like that? So that is the way to do that. But there's also, if you want to delete individual responses, we have had the possibility of doing that. Oops. There we go. So we have had the possibility of doing that from the follow-up page for a long time now. And if this is a little bit boring because it's only my name all over the place here, but if I click this tree, for example, I can click delete. And this, we have had the possibility to delete the complete response for quite some time now, I think a year or something. But now, if GDPR is enabled on this Quest, we also have the delete personal data. So if you don't want to delete the complete response, but you want to delete personal data, then you can go simply enable this, which we can't now because the function isn't enabled yet. And then that would then delete the personal data. And personal data is what you defined in addition to the email or phone number, if you send out invitations on SMS, together with stuff like IP addresses and things like that.
Yes.
So this is typically in use, you know, when the data subject, the respondent, asks you to either export or delete the data for her or him. Yeah. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up, doesn't it, Frode? Or have I forgotten anything?
No, it's yeah, I think we covered everything. Yeah. We can mention the existing export function because of the requirement to be able to request an export of the data we have on the. We already have that export function in place. So
so in the follow-up, you have the possibility to select whatever data you would like to have in the grid here, and when you do that and you simply click export, that's what you export.
Yeah. And that is in an Excel format, and then the requirement is that it is in a readily available and readable format, and Excel should be exactly that.
Yeah. So I think, well, I mean, there's really not more to it, but of course you have a job before you to kind of create all of these statements and make sure that they are correct and setting the right
of personal data, which
exactly
needs to be
so
done,
both the statements, what is personal data, and in addition to set the correct retention period, and also if you want to clean up personal data on things that was given before you enabled GDPR. So we are open for questions if we're able to hear you guys. Really? No questions? I'm instructed to wait, so I'll wait a little bit. We will wait.
So, Sweden here, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Sweden.
We'll have a question.
We could hear you, now we can't hear you. We heard you with a little bit echo. Or you can simply type it in and I'll answer. Okay, I just received a message from Sweden that they want to take it later. So last chance now to ask Frode and myself for some questions, which we will try to answer. So I guess that for Sweden, they will take it later. What about you, Finland? Do you have any questions that we will try to answer now? Okay, then I guess it's just to say thank you so much for your attention from Frode and myself. And thank you for your time and happy GDPRing.
Yeah, good luck with all the work up front.
Okay, thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.